Hi guys, it's Brenda again, and I'm here with Tony Pruitt, and he is been to prison in two different states, and also in the federal pen in many states. So I'm going to turn it over to him and just let him tell you a little bit about himself and what kind of transpired and what's going on in his life, past, present, and future. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I ended up owning a pretty good sized construction company. And once I had the construction company up and so big, I had to have so many hands in the pot and everything. And next thing I knew, I had to have another back surgery. And whenever I did, I ended up, let's say I just trusted the wrong person. And I pretty much lost my company, my home, vehicles, cars, boat, motorcycle, everything you could imagine. And because I made a death threat to this guy in front of his brother, which was a cop, which was sort of a stupid thing. But they held me without bond, and I sat there in jail until I pled the breach of trust over some bad checks. They had stopped a $70,000 payment to me with the company that I was working for, and in lieu of hoping to give the contract to this guy. And well, when push came to shove, I ended up losing everything that I had, and then the state of South Carolina ended up threatening to send me to prison, and for something that I didn't do wrong. And whenever they did that, I basically went on the run. And when I ran out of money and got desperate, I ended up robbing a bank. I did it with a note. I was stupid enough, thank God, to do that. I was still been in prison. But we all make mistakes in our lives, and it's just what you make out of it whenever you go back in. Some people call it going to college. So I've got multiple degrees from it.
Now you've done state and federal time.
Yes.
Which one do you think is better, state or federal?
Well, I started out, I had to do one state sentence. I had to do a 5-year sentence at 60% in South Carolina, which was absolute Hades. And then I ended up going to North Carolina, which was a little bit better, but it still wasn't that great. And then I ended up going to the feds, and I ended up doing like 8 months in North Carolina. And then I ended up going to the feds, and I was there for 6.5 years.
Did you get transferred a lot while you were in the feds?
Oh, God, yes. Well, actually, whenever you go in, you have to go to all these different transit centers. And, I've been on Con Air, and, I rode the plane with the duct tape on the window.
And this is all wearing handcuffs and shackles, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're shackled and handcuffed. And there was one flight that I was on that they actually shackle you to the floor. The others, they didn't. You just had the shackles and then the handcuffs. But the one, they take your ankle shackles and anchor you to the floor. And you can't move during the flight or anything like that. They'd let you get up and go to the restroom if you needed to, but you had to be totally secure whenever you were there.
Mm-hmm. I guess they thought you were going to escape out of the plane.
Yeah, well, they ain't got to worry about me jumping out of a perfectly good plane, but yeah.
So job-wise, when you're serving time, what's that like?
At the state levels, there were no jobs. You don't have that. And then, which they had prison industries, but the guys that are doing big time are there, and they've got all those jobs taken care of, and you had to have somebody either get out of prison, die off, and they had a waiting list. And, unless you had 7 or 8 years or better to do, you didn't stand a chance of getting in their prison industry. And then whenever you get into the Fed system, most facilities have their prison industries. And Victorville, when I was there, I was at Victorville, California, and they actually had a trash rehab, not a rehab, but a recycling, where they, just took regular street garbage and separated the plastics into papers and stuff like that. And then they at Fort Dix, they actually broke down and recycled computer and electronics. They took apart VCRs and things of that sort. So you had things like that they did. And You know, I ended up working in education most of the time because they wanted people that were educated to be able to help teach the other people. So that's basically what I ended up having to do.
What was your rate of pay?
I ended up having one of the highest paying jobs on the property at Fort Dix, and I made $96 a month.
So enough to buy your hygiene at least,
Yeah, pretty much that was it. Yeah.
but not enough to call home.
No, no, you had the family to send that money and do that there.
What's the thoughts that go through your head when you find out you're going through to go to prison and to be put away for years?
It's scary.
Mhm.
It's a scary thing. Um, you know, whenever they whenever they do that to you, you know, it don't take long for reality to set in. And once it sets in, you know, you to begin with, you know, somebody like me that had never been in, you know, no serious trouble or anything in your life, and then all of a sudden you're told that you're going to a place like Victorville, California. You know, you get there and you go there, and it's like the second worst penitentiary system in the country as far as violence and stuff. And it's all about how you treat yourself whenever you get there. But you know, the hardest thing of the whole thing was the family, not being able to just call your kids when you want to, or call home to make sure mom and dad are okay and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a scary thing.
Did you see a lot of violence?
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw things that I wish on no one else to see. Yeah, it's in a 3.5 year period that I was at Victorville, California, I saw 7 people. Didn't hear about it. Wasn't just there. I physically saw people get. I saw 7 people get killed.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and it's some scary stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever feel that you might be one of those people? Was your life
No,
ever in danger?
no, no. It's a matter of how you carry yourself. Whether you're, you know, if you go up there and you try to cheat somebody out of something, and you know, borrow something for somebody and don't pay it back, or disrespect somebody or something like that, yeah, you're going to get in trouble.
Hmm.
And but in the end, if you act like a man, walk like a man, they treat you like a man, and
Hmm.
that's basically how you have to do it.
So I've heard a lot of hustles in there to get commissary, to get some extra money, basically. What was your hustle? I see you
Well,
grinning.
there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm not going to talk about the illegal stuff, but you know, there's guys in there who do, like, you know, they do parlay tickets, you know, where you can gamble on the ball games and stuff. That's one
Mhm.
privilege you got to get, you know. You look forward to being able to watch a ball game at night or something like that, you know. And they run the tickets in there and stuff like that and do that. Me myself, I did things like you know, I taught a beading class, and I did art and stuff like that, and I would make things and sell it to guys to send home to their family. You know, I did the beading class and make some bad to the bone crucifixes and, you know, rosaries and stuff like that. And, you know, the guys are sending it home to their kids for their birthdays, and, you know, to their wives for their birthdays and anniversaries and Christmas and stuff. So, yeah, you get there and you order your materials through the system, and then you get there and you just put the stuff together. If you come up with some nice looking stuff, you can make a good hustle. I did pretty good.
So let's turn to today's timing. Well, not even today. I guess you've been out for a little bit. What's it like when you first get out? Explain that experience.
When you first get out, you have the feeling that everybody is looking at you. You have the feeling that everybody knows, even though they don't know. Some people do know, and you know, you just assume that they do. And it seems like everybody's looking at you, and you just have that little bit of guilt, or I don't know if it's embarrassment or intimidation that you would have there. But yeah, they sit there and they do things to you like that. And it makes you feel like lesser of a human being whenever they treat you like that.
Hmm.
The difference from between being a educated person with skill sets versus an ex-con. It's something that you have to get over.
Do you feel that people coming out of prison make less wages because of their title that they have now been
Oh,
labeled?
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I was fortunate when I came home because I had an uncle that had actually done time himself. And he reached out to me whenever I was about to get out and said, "Hey, man, if you need a place to stay, you need somewhere to get a job to, get up on your feet and everything, I'm here for you." And I reached back to him, and we set it up, and I went to work for him. And but still, it wasn't like I'm just a new kid on the job site. It was like that's the boss's nephew, but he just got out of prison.
Yeah.
Versus uh, I had some medical conditions after I had gotten out, and within 6 months after I was out, I had to have 14 inches of my colon taken out because of the way that they give you the medication in there. And they'll get there and they'll give you medication. You have to crush it and stuff. If you're taking something that's time released, it's supposed to sit in your stomach until the time release agent's taken off of the capsule or whatever, and then it's dispensed into your body. But if they crush it into powder, it goes through your digestive tract and it settles down in your colon, and that stuff sits there and eats holes in your colon. Whenever I got to the hospital, they told me that I looked like I had been shot in my gut with a shotgun.
Wow.
My colon just was totally perforated. And I formed a big, massive infection, and the infection had settled into my abdomen cavity. And I just had this big, massive infection, and it almost killed me. But
So medical care is not the best.
no, it's not at all. No, absolutely not. Heck, at Victorville, the whole staff was Filipino, and none of them could speak English. Even the doctor, he couldn't speak English. He had to have a translator to talk to you.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But um, the reason I was even mentioned the medical stuff is because whenever I was down, I was out of work for like 3 months. And while I was out, I said, you know what? I've got the time down now. I'm going to go ahead and get my daggum GC license back. I'm going to start my construction company back. And I never went back to work for my uncle. I started my company back again. And then all of a sudden, it's amazing how that transition goes, because it goes like from being a good guy that was smart, it was the boss's nephew that just got out of prison, to all of a sudden, this is the guy that owns the company. And I got totally different respect, and it's sort of crazy the way that works, but that's how it is.
Yeah, we tend to stereotype people and it doesn't make it right.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Do you feel that people can change when they go to prison and come out?
Oh, absolutely. Um, if a person can't change from going through all that, especially as long as I did for 10 years, they've they've got more problems at hand, and there's no help for them anyway. So if and then again, a lot of times society, whenever you got these guys that come out, they weren't as fortunate as I am, to have been in the construction industry like I did, and to have my knowledge that I could go out and actually do something when given the opportunity to. But a lot of times these guys get there and they go out there and they work and they do the best they can and they work and they work. But people have to realize they're coming out of prison with no money, no homes, no car, no job. And they're starting out with nothing but the shirt on their back when they come home. So if you get there and you do something like that, these guys have tendency to sit there and say, yeah, I did 15 years in prison, but I'm sitting here busting my butt for $15 an hour. I'm having to walk to work or take a bus. I don't have any clothes. I still don't have a house and a home, and I'm living in a halfway house. You know what? I'm gonna call up my old buddy and see if he'll front me a little bit until I can get there and get back on my feet. And they end up getting busted again for doing the same thing they went to prison for to begin with. It's called
Hmm.
recidivism, and that is one of the biggest problems in this country right now.
So our judicial system, you feel, sets us up to fail?
Absolutely, they set you up for failure. They fix it to where you come down, and unless you've got a will that is tenfold what the normal person on the street would have, it'll break you. And when you come out, you'll be a broken person. I mean, there's just nothing else you can do but, turn to a life of crime or try to do things that are, illegal or whether it be selling drugs or robbing somebody or,
Do you,
just
do you feel it's because it's all they know, or do you feel it's because it's what they feel they have to do for survival?
no, it's not all they know. It's not all they know. And most guys that I've met, I mean, I've met some of the smartest guys. I mean, when you're in the federal system, you meet guys. I've met everything from guys that run the mafia to, drug dealers to meth cooks to, bank robbers. I've met every walk of life you could imagine in there. I met some of the stupidest SOBs I've ever seen in my life, but I've also met a hell of a lot of the most genius minds I've ever seen in my life. And, whenever I started teaching the classes at Fort Dix, it was a flooring class where I taught guys how to put in hardwood floors and stuff. And I changed from the curriculum that they had given me and added another curriculum to it and actually taught them how to be contractors where they could start their own business. It was a street accredited course, which meant that they got approved and got a certificate and they could get there and take their little ID card and go to a flooring company and say, hey, I know how to install carpet, or I can put in hardwood floors, and get a job making $30, $35 an hour. But I tried to take it a step further and teach them how to be businessmen to where they could do the contracts themselves and then hire guys to install floors for them. And one of my proudest moments was one day I got a phone call, and it was from a couple of black guys that I had met and were in my class there. And the names sort of threw me off whenever he told me, but I'd heard the name. And then all of a sudden they started triggering my memory exactly who they were. And I'm like, oh man, he said, hold on a second, I got somebody else. And they put me on a three-way. And this other guy's calling. Well, one's in New Jersey, the other's in New York. And they're actually in the flooring business for themselves. One had a carpet company and the other one was doing damn tile and stuff. And, that was just a proud moment for me that these guys that had done nothing but sold crack and stuff like that their whole life, because I took the initiative to sit down and explain to them that that's not what they have to do. And they took grasp of it and made something out of the knowledge. That was one of my proudest achievements in my life, other than having my kids. So, I mean, that made me feel good that they did that.
So do you feel that support from family and friends, not only while you're in prison, but once you get out, is important to see the success for somebody coming back into the community for their reentry?
It's when you're out of sight and out of mind for so long, a lot of people forget about you. Even out before anything ever happened to you like that, people normally have tendencies to want to associate with you when there's something that they can get from you or something you can do for them.
That is a very true statement.
Once you're out of mind and out of sight and out of mind for so many years, oh, they forget about you. I mean, I could hold the letters that I got from prison in one hand when I came home after 10 years. The family, don't write, the friends and everything, they forget about you. And then whenever you come home, it's like, hey, it's good to see you. And whenever you come home like that, they're sort of trying to dodge you because they're scared you're going to ask them for a favor to help you get back on your feet or whatever. But then if you get there and do something to where you're having some success and you come back and you've proven the world wrong, that you're not a piece of crap criminal, and you've turned around and, made good out of things, and done good to help other people and everything, and people see your success, then all of a sudden, guess what? All the old friends and the family and everybody show back up, and it sort of gives you a little bit of satisfaction though whenever you can sit there and say, I don't think I'll answer the phone when they call. So
Kind of, I can do this. I did do this. So on
that's
that
right.
note, what is it that you're doing right now? You've got something big in the works.
Yes, we got a couple of projects in the works. One of the biggest projects is we have 241 acres. There's a little town in western North Carolina up in the mountains. And that 241 acres is going to house our home, but it's going to also house a race shop that I'm going to be building pro modified drag race cars out of. The cars will be able to be sold to the public venue and everything. And there's a certain clientele for it, but these things sell for anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 a piece. But the funny thing about it is that I sold the idea to a TV production company, and my crew and the staff at the shop are actually coming out of halfway houses and coming straight out of prison. On this property, we're also building 6 more houses. And out of those 6 houses, those guys are going to have a home to live. They'll be right there at their work, you know, and then on top of it, we're going to be doing the reality TV show off of it. It's going to be like a twist between Street Outlaws and Pit Bulls and Parolees. So it's a pretty big project, and it's been hammered down a little bit here because of the coronavirus and everything, but we're getting back on track with it, and they're going to start shooting with us real soon after we get everything completed as far as the construction, and it's going to be a pretty big deal. And the platform that we're using is that if I'm willing to strap my butt into a car to run 250 miles an hour that these guys have built, they've got the skill sets, they've got the necessary smarts to do something like that, and I can trust them to do something like that that's going to endanger my life. Well, then other business owners, when a guy comes up to you out of prison and says, hey, I'm a welder or I'm a mechanic and I have the skills to do this job that you're, you know, needing somebody to do, pay them what they're worth. Give them the money they're owed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pay them minimum wage because you can. Because these guys come out, they have to get a job or they go back to prison. And a lot of these guys sit there and they take the advantage of them and do them wrong like that, and it's not right.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. So I'm going
Yeah,
to end with just a few questions. First off, in your personal experience, do you feel that our judicial system is fair?
no,
Do you have, did you have a public defender or a paid attorney?
public.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Um, it's, I mean, there's good ones and there's bad ones. You know, it's not something that, well, the way that the system is structured, you have guys that are getting paid to actually do a job that is 9 out of 10 times been given as favor.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a situation or a particular case or whatever, and you have somebody that actually wants to come in and say, okay, you know, I've been trying to get this guy for a long time. And if you'll pretty much give for him and let me win this case, I'll let you have the next case. It's a numbers game. These guys do it for political reasons. I mean, public defenders make squat. They don't make hardly any money. So whenever they get there and they have the opportunity to be able to do a favor for the DA or do something special for the court system or whatever, they get political favor in the end. You know, they get there and they get so many notches in their barrel. Guess what? They can turn around and use it at the end to, you know, expand their career or you know, excel and do whatever they want to in the political arena. But yeah, whenever you've got a paid attorney, it's a little bit different. But they've got it set up to the point to where you basically can't get it. And, you know, that's on a state level too. You know, when you're in the federal system, you get a court-appointed attorney. You can get a court-appointed attorney all the time. And these guys are just like a paid attorney. They are street attorneys. They're not like working for the public defender's office. They're private attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just as well off to go ahead and, you know, take them on versus paying somebody out of your pocket, because the outcome's going to pretty much be the same either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you feel that in today's society, with as much social media and internet and everything else, since we basically have no privacy anymore, that being a felon is harder today than it was 20 years ago?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, I thank you for your interview, and watch for it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and possibly in the hands of some politicians. We are trying to get some awareness out there as to what happens when people get out, and trying to make life a little better for those, so people aren't always being judged, and to see that when one person goes to jail, really their whole family is incarcerated, because it affects everybody. And
Absolutely.
so anything that you have for a word of advice before we go?
Don't go to jail. No, make the best out of it whenever you can. You know, if you have a family member or, you know, a friend or whatever that's down like that and everything, you know, keep a close eye on them and keep them, you know, keep them at hand, because if you turn your back on them and you don't give these guys the help that they need, you know, there's so many things that they turn to, you know, whether it be drugs, either using them or selling them, or, you know, stealing, or you know, they'll do whatever they can to survive. And that's one thing that prison will do to somebody. It puts them in survival mode. So, you know, somebody's legitimately trying to get a job or trying to ask for help, or, you know, they're trying, don't turn your back on them. You know, hang in there with them. It's worth it.
Okay, great. It's nice talking to you.
All right, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you guys later.